Hello everybody, my name is Dan from Triangle X. Welcome to the third game dev tutorial in which for now we're programming Pong, aka tennis. So just open your project folder, and I already have source and the tennis package open. So what you're gonna do today is actually make another class which is called entity. So let's just class and entity. Now off entity we're gonna be able to make our players, the enemy, and of course the ball. They're all gonna be a kind of entity. So first of all we're gonna need a few variables, so let's start. So we're gonna need to make them all public for now. So we're gonna be needing a public float position x, because we're gonna need, it's a 2D game, so you know, we're gonna need the same position but in the y-axis. You're gonna need a float which is gonna represent the motion of the, depends on what you're talking about, the player, the ball, you know. We're gonna call it motion. Let's start with x and a motion y. Motion y. Okay. Next we're gonna need a width variable, and you probably guessed we're gonna need also a height variable, and the final float variable is gonna be speed. So public float speed. Okay. Now the other, we're having two more variables. So let's start with public. Now rectangle, and it's just gonna be called rect. Now import rectangle from Java AWT. I know it's you probably thought from OpenGL, but no, AWT. And then remember our GUI class. Remember this very nice method. So we're gonna use it now, and we're gonna use it a bit later in the video, but let's just make a variable, a GUI variable. So it's gonna be a public GUI and GUI. Okay, so now let's make a main method for our entity class. So public entity, and it's gonna take a main. Okay, now this is also pretty long and boring, this process, so let's start with initializing all the variables we have right here. So this dot posX is equal to 0 at the start. This dot pos y is equal to 0 at the start. This dot motion x is equal to 0 at the start. This dot motion y equals to 0 at the start, and now the width is gonna be 16, and remember the f right here, so it's floats. And this dot height is gonna be equal to also 16, And next, the speed. This dot speed is gonna be equal to 5.0, and now this dot rect is gonna be equal to a new, I don't want to type it again, new rectangle, and gonna have this dot, okay, next, just no, how did it even happen? Okay, this dot GUI is gonna be equal to a new GUI, of course. Okay, so let's start with a first method here. It's gonna be called bounds. So public void bounds. Okay, so let's start. It's gonna be around our rect variable. So this dot rect dot x is gonna be equal, and remember to cast it as a float, as an int, sorry. It's gonna be an int this dot pos x. Okay, so the position of our rectangle in the x-axis is gonna be equal to the position x we set it up in our entity. Same thing in the y-axis, dot y is gonna be equal, and remember, an int and this dot plus y. Okay, next, this dot rect dot width of the rect is gonna be able to equal to an int this dot width of our entity class. Then this dot rect dot height is gonna be equal to an int and this dot height. Okay, so this is our bounds method set, so let's just call it right here. So this dot bounds, I don't know why I copied it. So okay, next method, it's gonna be a public void. Wait, okay. It's gonna be a public void on update. It's gonna take in a main, and let's get started. So in here we're gonna have the bounds method and another two methods. So let's make them. Okay, so let's make a public void move, and it's gonna take in a float mx and a float my. It's for motion x and motion y. So it's gonna do this dot pos x is equal to mx and this dot pos y is equal to y. Okay, so let's just use it on in our update. So this dot this dot move with our this dot motion X and this dot motion Y. Okay, so next and final method today, a public void render. Okay, so it's gonna take in a main, and it's gonna use the very nice draw rect method from last tutorial. So UI dot draw rect with this dot pos X, this dot pos Y, this dot width, this dot height, and for the color it's gonna be black for now, so 0 times. Now because our color is an hex color, it's gonna be 8 numbers total, digits, no, total. The first 2 are the alpha, so we're gonna make him FF, so it's gonna be an you know, you can full opacity, yeah, and next just 6 zeros, so 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so now we have this. So finally, for this episode, for this tutorial, this dot render with our main, and that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Let it go.